Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang para partisipan webinar kali ini. Apakah suara saya bisa terdengar dengan baik?
Ibu, mohon maaf suaranya agak kecil sama agak nge-lag gitu, Ibu.
Ya, terima kasih. Halo, kalau sekarang bagaimana? Apakah suaranya sudah bisa terdengar dengan baik? Atau masih kecil?
Ya, Ibu, aman.
Sudah bisa terdengar, Ibu.
Oke, terima kasih. Ya. Good day. Hari ini kita senang sekali. Halo, Andrew. Can you hear my voice?
Hi. Yes, I can. Thank you very much for having me. Hello, Farida.
Okay. Could you please let me to say hello to all the participants in Bahasa, Andrew?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ya, hari ini rekan-rekan sekalian, kita beruntung sekali memiliki ada Andrew bersama kita yang akan berbagi, akan sharing tentang satu platform yang sangat menarik ya untuk pembelajaran sains. Nah, sains ini luas, jadi meliputi STEM juga begitu. Meskipun pada hari ini Andrew akan menjelaskan dalam bahasa Inggris, akan difasilitasi oleh saya sebagai moderator di sini dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi kalau misalnya ada yang khawatir nanti tidak paham, tenang saja ya. Kita akan lakukan dalam dua bahasa dan ini sudah disepakati bersama oleh Andrew sebelumnya. Namun sebelum itu, ya pertama-tama tentunya saya ingin memperkenalkan terlebih dahulu. Jadi di sini ada Bapak Agus Fitriandi. Halo Pak Agus Fitriandi.
Halo Bapak Ibu semua.
Ya, beliau adalah
Halo Andrew.
Hi, Agus. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Ya. Oke, beliau adalah CEO dari Global EduCollab yang bekerja sama dengan LabXchange. So, Andrew, I just explained to all the participants that introducing Mr. Agus and also explain how the webinar will be taken place today. So, I think we will start the session today. Andrew, first of all, I would like to explain that today we will have two sessions with Andrew. The first session, Andrew will explain about the LabXchange and the background why LabXchange has been developed. And then after that, Andrew will also guide us together to have a virtual tour using the LabXchange menu. Jadi hari ini akan ada dua agenda. Agenda yang pertama itu nanti Andrew akan menjelaskan tentang apa itu LabXchange, kemudian misinya ya, latar belakang dari dikembangkannya LabXchange ini, kemudian juga nanti pada sesi yang kedua kita akan praktek langsung. Nah, terkait dengan hal itu harapannya rekan-rekan semua di sini sudah mendaftar begitu ya di LabXchange, sehingga pada saat nanti kita ada virtual tour-nya, teman-teman sudah langsung bisa explore begitu. Nah, hari ini sebetulnya ini saya mau sampaikan pada rekan-rekan sekalian bahwa hari ini Andrew sedang tidak sehat. Beliau 2 hari yang lalu sakit ya. Jadi sebetulnya sebelum itu semua materi sudah dikirimkan ke kami, tapi Andrew hari ini sedang kurang sehat. Jadi nanti mungkin kita akan sedikit lebih cepat ya, tidak banyak begitu, tidak sedetail yang sebelumnya kami rencanakan karena mungkin kondisinya juga tidak baik bagi beliau begitu. Andrew, I just explained to the participants that you are not quite feeling well today, so we will do the webinar in a very flexible way, okay? And we hope that you will have a speedy recovery. Okay, so I think without further ado, I would like to give the screens to Andrew. Okay, so please, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants. Now, here's Andrew. So Andrew can introduce himself to all the audience. Okay, please, Andrew, could you introduce yourself? And then after that, I will try to translate little by little, and then using the chat box. Screens is yours, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Farida and August. Thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you all today and share more about LabXchange. So my name is Andrew. I'm part of the growth team at LabXchange, and we essentially help make people aware of this free science education platform. So what I'm going to do now, if that's right, is share my screen. Please let me know if you're able to see it. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. So the agenda for today's webinar is really just to let you understand a bit more about what LabXchange is, as Farida indicated, why it was developed, and some of the key features of LabXchange. And those key features I'll show you in the platform tour, which we'll do today as well. And there'll be time for questions and answers if you have any questions, but please feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. Alternatively, if you'd prefer, please put your questions in the chat box, and Farida or August can direct me to them if I have missed them, and I'll stop and answer them at any point in time. So today, I suppose, as I've touched on, the goal for this webinar is just to understand what LabXchange is, what it offers, and how it impacts you as educators or your learners, and to also help you identify how to get started. What can you do with it? How can you implement it in your classroom? So, apologies for the slight delay. My computer is just a little slow today. So what is LabXchange? Well, it is a platform for teaching and learning science. So it's also a community that connects students, teachers, and researchers or scientists. And it's developed at Harvard University, and it's completely free thanks to the funding that we received from the Amgen Foundation. So LabXchange was created or launched as a public-facing website in January 2020. And since that time, we've had just over 30 million people view the website or use our platform. Now, it's, as I say, all completely free thanks to the funding we received from Amgen, and that is a biotechnology company in the United States. And so initially, we had quite a strong focus on biology as a core subject, but we've expanded that focus to be biology, physics, chemistry, more along the STEM line. And so we also have content that I'll show you along maths and data science, as well as content for educators and students during periods of change in their careers or in their study paths. But I'll show you all of that when we get to the platform tour today. So as Farida pointed out, a key aspect of LabXchange is to understand, why did we create LabXchange? Apologies.
Okay, excuse me, Andrew. So I think I will a little bit resume your speech.
Please.
Jadi, in bahasa. Jadi teman-teman, LabXchange ini ternyata diluncurkan di tahun 2020 ya, sudah 2 tahun ya. Nah, kemudian memang dikembangkan oleh Harvard, Universitas Harvard, kemudian didanai oleh Amgen. Di Amgen itu salah satu perusahaan di bidang bioteknologi, ya, di bioteknologi yang memberikan full support untuk pengembangan dari LabXchange ini. Kira-kira secara garis besar itu, nah fokusnya di mana? Fokusnya ada pada pembelajaran untuk support pembelajaran STEM ya, khususnya terkait dengan STEM. Jadi ada sains, ada teknologi, kemudian ada yang dikembangkan pada data science dan juga matematika. Kira-kira itu. Now please continue, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Farida. So, apologies. I don't know what's going on with my... Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my machine. It's a little slow today. I think a bit like me, it's catching up after being sick. So the reason we looked at creating LabXchange was to help reimagine how to teach science online, and obviously make it all free. And what we mean is that how do we inspire or reach and engage students through the ability to personalize this learning experience? So a large part of our mission is to increase access to science education and be able to make that content available without any barriers, whether they are geographic or, really just to break down those barriers to help people access the top quality content that you can find on LabXchange. And so we also wanted to create deeper opportunities for authentic engagement. And what we mean by this is that currently science, it tells students about doing science, but we need to move to where students are actually learning through the process of doing themselves. So in class, we teach them, if you're very fortunate, you sit in class and you have access to a lab and you can do the experiment, but you follow the steps that the teacher gives you. And so you don't make any mistakes and you get to the correct answer at the end. But science isn't like that, especially when it comes to experimentation. With LabXchange, being able to do an experiment online allows a student to make mistakes and carry those mistakes through to their results, where they can then see where they made an error. And so we're offering them the ability to learn from their mistakes, not just learn from doing something perfectly and, regurgitating it when it comes to exam times. So moving online also allows students to learn from this failure, especially as I mentioned around experiments where they may not have access to labs or equipment or reagents. So the digital environment allows for learning through doing and to try again. And it really puts students in the driving seat of their learning experience. We also, sorry, would you like to translate, Farida?
Yeah, I will try to translate it because I think this is one of the main point. I mean, Andrew, this is very important. So I think I need to do the translation and then emphasize these argumentations. I mean, these statements. Ya, jadi rekan-rekan semuanya, salah satu latar belakang mengapa LabXchange ini dibuat itu adalah ingin memberikan satu pengalaman belajar yang berbeda, khususnya dalam bidang sains, ya. Karena tidak semua siswa itu beruntung belajar sains di laboratorium, kan? Laboratorium itu mahal, kemudian melakukan percobaan, dan bukan hanya mahal. Jadi ada beberapa prinsip yang tadi disampaikan oleh Andrew adalah seperti ini. Ketika kita belajar sains di dalam laboratorium, biasanya supaya itu mungkin lebih hemat dalam tanda kutip, kita akan dilarang untuk terjadi kegagalan, gitu ya. Kalau bisa percobaan jangan sampai gagal. Padahal sains itu belajar melalui beberapa kali percobaan, gitu. Jadi belajarnya harus melalui proses. Nah, ini ingin dijembatani oleh LabXchange ini, gitu. Okay, Andrew, please continue.
Thank you, Farida. We also wanted to reveal a clearer picture of the ways to become involved in STEM. And what we mean is that we're working on bringing a clearer picture of what science is today. So who's involved in science? What different perspectives or expertise are brought to solve a problem? And really show students a range of ways that their identity can contribute, as a member of the scientific community. For the youth or the students of today are going to be the ones that solve the problems of tomorrow. We also want to provide real stories from real scientists talking about what motivates them. Why did they study what they studied? What challenges they faced and how they overcame those challenges. And really contextualize how scientists are using their knowledge to address these real changes. We also want to show that science is interdisciplinary, meaning it doesn't actually operate in a silo. It's about leveraging a team's expertise, whether that's marketing experience or financial experience or legal experience. It's not just pure scientists figuring out problems, but scientists that have other interests as well. And we want to support, students in participating in this experience. And then finally, what we also wanted to do is bring together diverse voices in science to really improve science education and help solve some of these really complex challenges. So it's showing that science is about community, and it's growing that community to connect and share in order to help solve real world problems. And again, we've got some functionality that touches on that, which I'll show you, which is our classroom function and mentorship functions and discussion forum. So would you like, thanks, Farida.
Yes. Yeah. So you also can have a little bit raise, Andrew, because your condition today is not quite fit. Okay. Ya, jadi Bapak Ibu, prinsip yang juga ingin dikembangkan oleh LabXchange selanjutnya, selain tadi mengubah cara pandang pembelajaran sains yang baru, begitu, juga melihat bahwa masalah yang timbul itu semakin kompleks dan juga membutuhkan penyelesaian yang tidak bisa hanya dari satu bidang saja, artinya ada interdisiplinari sehingga memunculkan STEM di situ, dan pembelajaran berbasis komunitas. Jadi bukan hanya katanya kalau STEM itu harus saling terkait, harus bisa bekerja sama, tetapi juga disediakan platformnya sehingga pembelajaran nanti berbasis komunitas, bisa saling terhubung begitu satu sama lain. Nah, sehingga pada akhirnya bukan hanya teori tapi juga secara praktik itu sudah ada wadahnya seperti itu. Di sana bring together diverse voice ya in science. Jadi di sains juga banyak sekali kan, ada biologi, ada fisika, dan itu bisa bertemu di dalam satu platform seperti itu. Please, Andrew, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Farida. So on the next slide, we're obviously going to talk about what can you do with LabXchange. Well, as I've touched on, you can explore new topics and new careers in STEM fields if you're a student or an educator. You can design and share these learning experiences. You can obviously share them with your colleagues or with your students, and I'll show you how to do that. And you can also discuss innovations in science and education, and obviously apply this to real world issues. Some of the real challenges that we face today, like climate change, are ones that will be solved through a community of scientists helping to figure out the solution. You can also develop your professional skills, and then finally, we can offer the ability to mentor someone or be mentored if you're a student. But I'll show you more about this in the platform tour. Very briefly, I'd just like to cover how to create a LabXchange account if you haven't already signed up for one. So if you go to www.labexchange.org, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a big yellow sign up button. If you just click on that, you'll be asked to verify your age, and you'll be taken to edX where you will create an account. If you already have an edX account, you can use that for sign-in as well. And then just check your email to verify your account. Farida, would you like to translate that as well?
Yes, of course. It is a very, understandable, I think, but I just wrap up a little bit. Jadi, rekan-rekan sekalian, kalau mau daftar sebetulnya sangat mudah ya. Langsung saja pergi ke labexchange.org, kemudian nanti diminta verifying age-nya, karena memang ini ditujukan untuk siswa dari 13 tahun ke atas gitu. Jadi di SMU ya, SMP, SMA, kemudian dengan perguruan tinggi ini lebih cocok di sana. Kemudian kalau sudah punya akun edX, biasanya nanti akan dilarikan ke akun edX-nya. Nah, kemarin juga saya sempat mengalami hal ini. Jadi masuk ke edX dulu, kemudian nanti kalau sudah kita bisa langsung masuk lagi ke menu LabXchange-nya begitu. Kemudian tadi di menu sebelumnya, jadi menunya tuh banyak sekali. Kalau kita kaitkan itu sebetulnya sangat sesuai dengan kurikulum kampus Merdeka ya. Jadi ada mentornya juga, ada mentorship-nya juga di situ. Kemudian ada case study, nanti bisa dilihat sama teman-teman semua, sama rekan-rekan sekalian, bahwa bahkan untuk case study-nya sudah disiapkan. Jadi ada laboratorium virtual juga di sana, dan saya sudah mencoba, luar biasa laboratoriumnya seperti yang tadi sudah dijelaskan. Ada salah satu gambar di dalam slide-nya Andrew. Okay, that's enough, Andrew, I think.
Thank you very much, Farida. So now we're going to go on to a tour of the platform. So if you'll just let me open up LabXchange, And we will then go to a few different pages on the website and essentially go through a view of what you can do with LabXchange. So I'm just going to open up another screen or two very briefly while we wait. So can you confirm that you can see the LabXchange homepage?
Yes, we can see now in the LabXchange.
Thank you.
Andrew, probably I will inform to all the participants and audience when they are also exploring the LabXchange website. So if they have any question, kalau Bapak Ibu atau rekan-rekan semua punya pertanyaan, langsung saja, jangan sungkan-sungkan untuk mengajukan pertanyaannya baik di chat box ataupun dengan menu raise hand. So I just inform them if they have any question or they face some difficulties in order to access the LabXchange, then they just can easily to raise their hands up. Please continue. And
thanks very much, Farida. Appreciate that. So as I said, this is our home page. And what you'll see is in the top, we have an explore page, a library page, a dashboard, and a community. Now, I did say there was a big yellow sign up button on the right-hand side, but I'm signed in, so I have an account. And having an account is also free. All you have to do is just sign up, and having an account unlocks further functionality for a user. So there's added benefits to having an account. And because I'm logged in, this dashboard is a button that shows. If I was not logged in, this button would not be there. So I'm just going to show you very briefly what the home page indicates. So as you can see, we want to become the world science classroom, offering a space where everybody can come and learn science and engage in science. We have some collaborator logos here. And a collaborator is an organization that has very kindly made some of their content available on LabXchange. So not only does LabXchange create its own content, but we also aggregate content from other sources. So as an educator, you're able to find a library of sources available for you that will meet your needs. Just underneath, we have a video that's showcasing the educator perspective around what LabXchange offers. And below that, what we have is a very high-level example of what LabXchange offers. So as I've touched on, you can explore all our high-quality science content in the LabXchange library for free. You're able to create your own learning journey. So what we mean by that, and I'll show you some examples, is that you can create your own content, and then you can share that content with your fellow educators or other learners. Below this, we just have some featured content. Again, it's showcasing that there are different collaborators who've made their content available. So you can see the names of the different organizations in the top of the image. And you'll also see in the bottom of the image, there is a video or pathway, narrative, simulation, etc. That again just showcases that there's different types of content available on LabXchange for you to engage with. I'm going to go back up to the top of the screen and we'll next go to the library, but I'll let Farida translate this first.
Okay, yes. Jadi rekan-rekan LabXchange ini menyediakan konten-konten yang tidak semuanya dibuat oleh LabXchange, tetapi oleh partner-partnernya bekerja sama, dan kontennya ini sudah dikurasi begitu. Jadi konten-konten yang terdapat di LabXchange ini memang sudah dijamin konten-kontennya secara akademik sudah memenuhi standar mutu begitu ya. Di sana kalau kita masuk ke pertama nanti akan ada videonya yang disampaikan tadi yang ada di layar ini, kemudian di bawah sana akan ada banyak menu-menu dan menunya itu kontennya ada beberapa beragam, kemudian akan muncul di sebelah kiri atas dari gambar video kecil tersebut adalah penyedia konten tersebut, jadi yang bekerja sama dengan LabXchange tentunya. Nah, ini sedang digeser ke bawah ya, itu ada bentuknya video, ada bentuknya juga dalam bentuk misalnya pembacaan atau PDF begitu ya, yang ini semuanya bisa diakses secara gratis untuk proses belajar maupun proses mengajar. Please continue, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Farida. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the top and I'm going to take us to the digital library. So I've opened that library, and essentially what we have here is, if I clear off English, we have just over 20,000 digital assets available on LabXchange right now for you to utilize. So that's a large number of pieces of content, and you might be thinking, well, what's relevant for me and my students? So you're able to search all that content for anything in particular that you might be looking for. For example, if you're a biology teacher and you're looking for a plant cell, you can just type in plant cell in the search box. Likewise, you're able to use the refining area over here to refine your search. So if I click on the plus button, that will open up the subject area. As you can see, we support the biological sciences, and there are about 13,500 pieces of content tagged with the biological sciences tag. The arrow just means there is more granularity to the particular content. So you're able to find something more specific that you're looking for. Likewise, we also have health science content. So this might be more relevant for students who are in the university level, as it talks about medical research, anatomy, diseases, healthcare, etc. We also have content for chemistry and physics. So for chemistry, you can see there's content on atomic structures and techniques. There's also on organic chemistry and intermolecular forces. Now, the drop-down for physics, we're busy completing at this point in time, so it's still going to be coming soon. But we also have content that might be more enriching for what's happening in your classroom situation. So we talk about things like scientific communication, the history of science, bioethics, etc. We also have content on the scientific process, a very important aspect of experimentation. So experimental design, data analysis, ethics and lab safety, and the scientific process. We also have content on global health, communicable, non-communicable diseases, climate change, extremely important topics at this point in time. We also have content, as I said, for students and for educators. So for students, we have preparing for careers if they're leaving university and looking to explore what is available to them in their next move into the working world. And then for educators, we also have educator skills. So how different aspects of teaching and learning, so instructional design or active learning, pedagogy, and teaching online. So Farida, would you like to translate at this point?
Okay, I think you can finish until the last content.
Okay, thank you. We also have some economics content related to the sciences. So as you can see, climate change, inequality, institutions and economic outcomes, trade and globalization. And then we also have some content on data science and mathematics, which we are busy building out over the next 6 to 12 months. So as you can see, we've got algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus. And then back to the learner support information, we've got learner support. So preparing for graduate school, preparing for college, study tips, financial aid tips, things that can really support them during periods of transition, whether they're leaving high school, going to university, or leaving university, going to the working world. And finally, we also have content for students around preparing for college.
Okay, Andrew, let me explain a little bit. Bahasa. This is really great. I mean, abundance resources, Andrew, ya, actually. Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, di sini kalau kita mau mencari kontennya, ya luar biasa. Kalau kemarin ada yang sempat bertanya, Bu, ini kan sains ya, saya kan matematik ya, sama saya juga orang matematik. Ternyata di sini juga ada. Jadi sainsnya itu memang di satu bidang yang dianggap puas, bukan hanya IPA saja. Kita lihat dari yang paling atas di sana ada biologi, ada di situ, kemudian ada terkait dengan kesehatan juga, ada juga kimia, ada juga fisika, kemudian ada juga sosial ya, sains dan komunitas ya, dan sosial begitu. Kemudian ada mempelajari proses ilmiah ya, proses ilmiah. Kemudian ada isu-isu kesehatan global. Nah, yang menarik ini ada prepare for career. Jadi untuk mahasiswa terutama yang mau nanti lulus kira-kira mau memilih karir yang apa juga sudah ada di sini ya, menarik. Kemudian ini juga yang menarik kalau di universitas dosen-dosen ada namanya pekerti gitu ya, ada educator skill ya. Educator skill ini tentunya buat guru juga di materi-materi PPG saya pikir ya. Itu ada di sini ada tentang data science, kemudian juga ada support untuk pembelajar dan matematika juga tadi cukup banyak meskipun mungkin di sini tidak sebanyak yang lain, tetapi juga ada dan komplit, ada geometri, ada aljabar ya, tadi saya lihat banyak, dan yang menarik juga meskipun baru satu, ada prepare for college, berarti ini disiapkan untuk siswa-siswa yang lulus SMA ya, untuk melanjutkan ke perguruan tinggi begitu. Oke, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Farida. So while we're able to refine by different subjects and help find something in particular you might be looking for, you can also refine by different content types. So I'm sure you're all very familiar with video, text, and image as a digital content type, but we've also created individual questions for users to utilize. We have interactive content, which is really requiring engagement from the user in order to complete it. We have narrative content, and this is the real stories from real scientists that I mentioned earlier. It's text documentation, about a page, 2 pages, where scientists are able to share their stories around why they became a scientist, etc. And really offering students the ability to see someone that looks like them and really break away from the stereotype of what it is to look like a scientist or to be involved in science. Then we also have simulated laboratory experiments. We've got PDF documentation. We've got audio content, which is just another way of saying a podcast. We've got some teaching guides and lesson plans for educators. And then we've got question sets, which are those individual questions. We've put together groups of them around particular themes or topics. And then we have some case studies and some digital textbooks. Now, the two that I haven't yet touched on are pathway and cluster. Now, a pathway is really just a sequential ordering of individual pieces of content. So, for example, if you wanted to teach about the plant cell, you might start with an introductory video for your students, followed by an image, followed by a question set, followed by a simulation, or any other pieces of content you like. So pathway is a collection of individual pieces of content joined together around a topic or theme. Now, if we wanted to add pathways together, we would get what we call a cluster. So a cluster is a higher order collection of pathways around a broader topic or theme.
I think I have to explain this, Andrew. Ya, jadi di dalam LabXchange ada yang istilahnya pathway. Karena tadi kan ada subject area, kemudian ada content type. Jadi tipe kontennya itu apa saja? Ada video, ada teks, ada gambar, kemudian ada kumpulan pertanyaan, sampai kemudian ada simulasi, ada juga pathway. Ya. Kemudian tadi ada kumpulan. Jadi pathway itu kalau di kita mau konten-konten khusus yang kita rancang menjadi satu alur pembelajaran, nah itu kita sebutnya sebagai pathway di sini. Jadi kumpulan dari pathway disebut, sorry Andrew, what we call the collection of pathway?
So a pathway is a collection of individual pieces of content. So for example, an image, a text article, a video, anything that you like, that you see here.
And then the collection of some pathways, what we call it,
that's called a cluster, yes.
It's the cluster. Ya, jadi kalau tadi pathway itu individual ya, misalnya kontennya apa saja kita rancang dalam satu pembelajaran begitu. Kemudian nanti kalau ada beberapa pathway kita menyebutnya sebagai cluster. Ya, seperti itu kira-kira. Jadi luar biasa ini, memang banyak sekali. Dan ini semua adalah gratis ya, free begitu. Okay, Andrew, please continue.
Thank you very much, Farida. So we also break down our content by background knowledge. So, for example, you might be wondering what content is relevant for my students or for me. So because we're a global website, we keep the language very simple. We either have no background knowledge required, some background knowledge required, or extensive background knowledge required in order to understand a piece of content. None would mean that you're a 12, 13-year-old student coming to the sciences for the first time. Some experience or background knowledge requirement would mean that you've probably finished high school equivalent, depending on where you are in the world. And that's the understanding or level of understanding you have when it comes to science. Extensive background knowledge would mean that you've finished at least first year undergrad level at university.
Oke, jadi selain tadi konten itu dibagi ke dalam area, kemudian tipenya, ada juga berdasarkan pengetahuan sebelumnya atau background pengetahuannya, prasyarat ya kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi ada konten-konten yang memang tidak butuh prasyarat ya. Artinya semua orang yang baru belajar itu bisa mempelajari konten tersebut. Tapi ada juga konten yang kalau kita mau belajar konten tersebut, kita harus punya minimal syarat sudah belajar beberapa materi, misalnya itu yang SAM. Nah, tadi disampaikan Andrew bahwa ini minimal itu sudah SMA ya, sudah SMA lah, di level SMA. Kemudian kalau yang ekstensif itu memang membutuhkan background pengetahuan awal yang cukup banyak begitu. Jadi kira-kira di tahun pertama mahasiswa di perguruan tinggi ya. Jadi syaratnya kalau untuk mahasiswa perguruan tinggi kita bisa membedakan dari background knowledge-nya ini, konten-kontennya nanti bisa dicari dari sana. Oke, thank you Andrew.
Thank you, Farida. If you're an educator and you also want to search videos specifically for different age groups, you might be interested in looking at shorter videos for younger viewers with shorter attention spans, and longer videos for older students. And you can segment the videos using this search function.
Ya, kemudian juga dari durasi video, kalau misalnya kita mau video yang kurang dari 5 menit atau yang 5-10 dan yang lebih dari 10 menit, dan ini sangat bermanfaat untuk guru-guru ya, terutama kita mau menyesuaikan dengan durasi waktu kita mengajar.
We also list all the sources that we have content from. So this is all the collaborators that we have been able to bring onto LabXchange. So there are a huge mixture. We have content from YouTube channels, we have content from museums, content from academic and scientific journals, for-profit and not-for-profit organizations. And they're listed here by source, which you can search by typing in if you're looking for a particular source. And then they're all organized by volume of content. So you're welcome to come here and see any particular source that you like, or just see what content they've made available on LabXchange. We have over 144, close on 150 collaborators at this point in time. And as the team that I work in, as we do our job, we get more collaborators on time, onto the platform, and so this will change and grow as we get more people onto the platform.
Oke, jadi kita juga bisa mencari sumber-sumber berdasarkan kolaborator yang bekerja sama dengan LabXchange, dan ini luar biasa banyaknya organisasinya ya, dari Meristem di Singapura juga ada ya, dan kurang lebih 150 tadi Andrew bilang, dan ini masih terus bertambah gitu. Jadi penyedia kontennya itu memang sudah disampaikan ya di banyak dari partnernya LabXchange. Okay, please Andrew.
We also list some popular tags, and these change daily just based on people's searches. And then what we also have is some content that we've been able to translate into different languages outside of English, the most recent of which is Ukrainian. And this is for a certain, it's not all our content, unfortunately. It's more just I'll show you a cluster of content which represents about 100 pieces of content that's been translated across these different languages.
Dan ternyata kita juga bisa mencari konten berdasarkan bahasa ya. Di sana ada beberapa yang sudah masuk, tetapi sayang bahasa Indonesia belum ada. So Andrew, unfortunately bahasa Indonesia haven't been fine here. We hope that after this webinar, we can provide Bahasa Indonesia, some content in Bahasa Indonesia. Yeah. Okay. Please.
Farida, that would be wonderful. So if anybody listening today knows of a Bahasa Indonesia organization that would like to volunteer to translate content, we are always open to translating content. Most recently, we've been approached by a Vietnamese organization who volunteered to translate some content, and we very happily engage with organizations or individuals who are able to help translate content. So if anybody is interested, by all means, please feel free to contact me. Farida's got my email address. We'd love to be able to add more languages to LabXchange.
Okay, yeah. I will inform all global educator partners also if they are interested to translate some of the contents, or I think not yet all, but we can start some of the contents in LabXchange ya. Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, kalau yang tertarik ya, mungkin ada organisasi, kita juga bisa mengajukan begitu bahwa kita ingin mentranslate beberapa konten terlebih dahulu, terutama konten-konten yang memang sangat relevan misalnya dengan kurikulum yang banyak digunakan di Indonesia begitu. Yeah, I think it will be interesting, Andrew, if we can select some of the content which is appropriate with Indonesian curriculums in science. I think we can start with some of this project to do the translation into the Bahasa.
That would be wonderful. I know we would be very keen to do that based on the fact that so many people from the Philippines are starting to use LabXchange. It would be wonderful to be able to offer something in a language that everybody would appreciate.
Yes.
All right.
Please continue.
So, thank you. So I'm going to go back up to the top here, and I'm going to select some content types for us to go through just so that we have an idea of what they are. So this is, I'll just open this one, an interactive piece of content. And then I think we have a pathway open, we have a cluster and a simulation. Yes. So I'm going to start off with what we call an interactive piece of content. I'm going to show you one that's created by LabXchange. So you can see in this box, it always shows the logo of the content creator. And if you are interested in finding more from them, you're able to view their website or view their profile. Their profile sits on LabXchange and showcases all the content they have made available on LabXchange. Farida, would you like to translate? Thank you.
Yes. Jadi ini akan diberi contoh salah satu konten yang sifatnya interaktif. Nah, ini tadi sudah ditunjukkan bahwa penyedia kontennya sudah ada, terdapat di pojok kanan atas begitu, dan kita bisa langsung pergi ke websitenya juga, kemudian lihat profilnya seperti apa. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you, Farida. So this is what we call an interactive that is a scrollable. So I'm going to click Start Interactive. There is obviously the heading, what is the title to this piece of content. There is a description about this piece of content. And then I'm able to click Start Interactive. So here I'm going to take us into the interactive. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the rollable on my mouse. Not sure if you can see my mouse, but I'm just rolling it down. And the image comes in on the right and the text on the left. And as I scroll, I move through this particular interactive. And essentially, I, the student, am in control of this learning experience. So if, for example, I find I'm not paying attention, I can reverse the process by scrolling backwards and see where the labels were pointing and what the text was saying. So it requires me, the student, to be actively engaged in this particular piece of content in order to enjoy the learning experience.
Andrew, probably the participant also can try by themselves, right? Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian boleh coba, kemudian mungkin supaya Andrew juga tahu, misalnya teman-teman nyoba, boleh di capture gitu, pakai screenshot, nanti ditaruh di chat Kira-kira teman-teman sudah bisa belum gitu sampai di sana ya. Jadi silakan ini kata Andrew tinggal scroll saja ke bawah, nanti di sebelah kanan kiri atas itu ada informasinya ya. Ada bacaannya, di situ ada informasi terkait proses yang berlangsung begitu. Nanti kalau lupa dia bisa kembali lagi ke atas begitu. Dan kalau sudah dia terus tinggal di scroll ke bawah saja. Nah, sampai sini mungkin ada pertanyaan dari rekan-rekan sekalian atau ada yang ingin disampaikan? Mau share bahwa udah nyoba juga gitu? Silakan. Ya, kalau ada peserta, ada rekan-rekan yang sudah mencoba begitu ya, boleh silakan sharing di sini ya. Kalau saya kemarin sempat mencoba yang praktikum menggunakan ada tube-tube-nya itu ya di dalam biologi kalau tidak salah begitu ya. Jadi silakan boleh share di sini. Okay, Andrew, please you can continue to explain more.
Thank you very much, Farida. So this is an example of just one of the different types of interactive content we have. This is obviously one by LabXchange, but we have content like this from other sources, so it'll be slightly different in how you interact with it. But the point being that it's for students to engage with the content, and that's part of the learning experience. So now I'm going to take us to a simulated laboratory experiment content time. So this one is an experiment around gel electrophoresis. And it's a technique used to separate biological molecules. So again, it's by LabXchange. And then all I have to do is click start, but Farida, if you'd like to just translate that before I get into the experiment.
Okay, yes Andrew, jadi ini di interaktif itu ada beberapa yang jenisnya berbeda-beda. Kalau tadi dia tinggal scroll aja, dan nanti mungkin yang mau disampaikan oleh Andrew berbeda lagi jenisnya. Ini percobaan gel electrophoresis, yaitu misahkan molekul kalau saya nggak salah ya. Correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not, I don't have any background in biology ya. Jadi memisahkan molekul, separate the molecules, is that right, Andrew?
That's correct. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Farida. So I'm going to click Start Simulation. And what that does is that opens up a screen that's going to ask me what level do I want to complete this simulation on. And the levels really mean how many hints or tips do you want to receive. Level 1 offers more support and more tips, and levels 3 offers fewer hints and tips.
So I will explain. Jadi ini ada 3 level ya. So the level 1 it's complete. I mean probably the direction is complete, right? That Andrew. So
it's the same. Yes, it's the same experiment. It's just you'll get hints from the computer telling you how to do things more than on level 3. Okay.
Yes. So the level show how many hints the computer provided, right?
Yes.
Ya, jadi ini ada eksperimen yang sama, tetapi dibuat dalam 3 level yang berbeda. Nah, kalau level yang pertama, ini berarti tekniknya juga petunjuknya itu lebih detail begitu sepertinya. Kemudian kalau level yang kedua, itu artinya untuk anak-anak atau siswa yang sudah lebih mahir, jadi petunjuknya tidak diberikan sedetail yang level pertama, dan yang ketiga juga tentunya lebih sedikit lagi begitu. Please continue,
Thanks very
Andrew.
much. So now that I've selected level 1, I'm going to just start the experiment. And what I'm faced with is a notebook on my right that's telling me about the context of the experiment, and the lab bench on the left, which I can't yet, if I click, nothing happens, it's grayed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move through the notebook. So as you can see, this is giving the context to the experiment, so telling us what the experiment is about, and what we need to know before we do this experiment.
Okay, can I explain, Andrew, in bahasa?
Please. Yes, please.
Oke, jadi ini menu kalau kita buka yang eksperimentasi, ya di sini dilengkapi dengan notebook, ada buku catatan begitu. Nah, di buku catatan itu pertama diberitahu nanti eksperimennya seperti apa yang harus dibaca lebih dulu, ya. Kemudian langkah-langkah yang mau dilakukan apa saja, sama nanti diberitahu ini alat-alat yang digunakan dan bahannya seperti apa. Oke, please, Andrew.
Thank you, Farida. So in the next section, I can click next here, and we are introduced to the materials. So what are the pieces of equipment that we're going to be using for this experiment? Now, if you are a student that has not yet done this experiment or been in a lab before, you may not know what each of these pieces of equipment do. And so you can click on each one for an explanation about what they are. So it helps reduce the anxiety around potentially not knowing what a piece of equipment is.
This is really great, Andrew. Ya, jadi kalau kita lihat di bagian perlengkapan bahan, ya, material dan bahan, mungkin ada, mungkin saya sendiri ya belum pernah masuk ke lab fisika yang seperti apa yang sekarang canggihnya seperti apa. Nah, di sini disediakan, sudah dijelaskan ini nama alatnya apa, kemudian di situ kalau kita klik dia akan muncul penjelasan tentang alat tersebut dan juga bahan tersebut. Okay, Andrew, please, you can continue.
Thank you, Farida. In the next section, we're asked to create some predictions about what we think is going to happen in this experiment. So we just make a few selections and hope that our predictions are correct. But if we know this experiment, we'll have a better idea.
Okay, so I think this is one of the ideas that student can try the experiment by themselves. Ya, they do it by themselves. Jadi rekan-rekan ini yang menarik ya. Jadi di awal itu ada fase di mana kita diminta membuat prediction. Ya, kita create membuat dugaan gitu ya. Kalau dalam bahasanya orang matematik itu kita menduga begitu ya. Kita atau di kita mungkin hipotesis ya. Secara kita menduga kira-kira nanti kayak apa gitu hasilnya. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thanks, Farida. So in the next section, we are getting the high-level steps of what we need to do in this experiment. Very, very high level. So that's just what we call the protocol.
Jadi selanjutnya kita masuk pada protokol ya, atau ini level yang cukup tinggi gitu. Jadi istilahnya kita harus tahu untuk melakukan percobaan itu protokolnya apa saja begitu. Okay, please, Andrew.
Thank you. So now I'll click Start Simulation, and we can now access this lab bench. So what I can do is I can click on pieces of equipment and drag them around very intuitively. But you'll see on the right, there is the notebook with a sort of gold-orange highlight, which basically tells us the step-by-step instructions to follow in order to complete the experiment. Now, you can either hide this notebook if you're a strong student and just want to play around with the experiment, or you can follow the step-by-step instructions and complete the experiment with hopefully the correct results.
Ya, jadi ini menarik ketika kita sudah klik start, kita mulai ya, maka kita bisa melakukan eksperimen itu dengan cara mengklik itu, membuka tadi kotak boxnya, kemudian ada tube-nya di situ kita lakukan. Nah, ternyata di sebelah kanan itu ada menu yang membantu kita, jadi ada apa namanya? Ada informasi apa saja yang harus kita lakukan, langkah-langkahnya. Jadi kalau kita merasa siswa baru, kita bisa gunakan itu sebagai acuan, sedangkan kalau kita sudah siswa yang biasa masuk ke lab ya tinggal langsung saja dilakukan begitu.
Thank you, Farida. So as you can see, I can follow the step-by-step instructions, and the highlight will move through to the correct place. So in this case, I am just setting the gel in the correct place, and Well, I can follow all the instructions, but I'm not going to follow all of them because it's quite a long experiment. So what I'm going to do is just jump to the end and show you the impact of my decisions. So here we are at the results page. And in this area, you're able to decide, you're asked, is this what you predicted would happen? So you're able to type in your answer here to that question, but at a very visual level, you're able to see what your predictions were, what your actual results were, and what the ideal results were.
Jadi kalau Andrew tidak satu-satu, kita langsung ke bagian belakang hasilnya, resultnya seperti apa, dan itu nanti ada rekamannya di bagian catatan. Andrew, I have one question. Yeah, all this record, it is saved automatically into the learning pad in our account or in the student account. Or, should we? Is there any should we save intentionally, or it's automatically saved by the system in LabXchange?
So when I do an experiment like this, it's not saved. But if you create a classroom and you put the experiment in the classroom, then while you work through that information, or at least not the information, but the
result.
Not so much even the results. So it's just, I'll show you, but essentially what we do with our classroom is show that you've completed this experiment or not completed this experiment. And if there are questions, we show what percentage you got correct. And that's what we record in the classroom. But let me show you when we get there, if that's okay.
Okay, that's okay. You can continue. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's a good question. Thank you. So this is the results. In the next section, we offer some multiple choice questions for students to figure out where their gaps might be in the learning process for this experiment. So students generally get two chances to answer every question and essentially get a better understanding for where they might have gone wrong in the experiment. And because it's a digital experiment, they can go back and do this over and over again until they close those learning gaps.
Oke, jadi nanti di bagian akhir setelah hasil ternyata ada reflection. Di sini siswa akan mendapatkan beberapa pertanyaan ya yang harus dijawab berkaitan dengan tadi proses percobaan yang tadi itu. Kemudian kalau diberi kesempatan 2 kali menjawab, salah ya, 2 kali menjawab. Jadi siswa bisa mengulangin lagi. Ya, kalau salah ya sampai siswa betul-betul paham ya. Oke, that's enough.
Thank you. In the next and final section, we have a summary of the key learning takeaways that a student should understand about this experiment. So just really understanding what they should understand or what they should take away from this experiment. So how to set up this electrophoresis box, how to use a micropipette to transfer the liquid, etc., etc. So those are some of the key learning takeaways we leave with the student.
Jadi nanti di summary-nya, di kesimpulannya kita tahu bahwa siswa kita tuh sudah bisa apa saja setelah melakukan percobaan yang tadi itu ya. Okay. Thank you. Andrew, you can continue.
Thank you. And that is the end of the simulation. But as I say, this is something that a student can do over and over again without worrying about.
Excuse me, Andrew. There is a question from the participant. Yes. Okay. Maaf, ini yang bertanya, apa yang dipilih yang baru saja disampaikan? Apakah maksudnya ini simulasi? Halo, Mr. or Mrs. RS? Halo, Mr. or Mrs. RS? Pertanyaannya, simulasi ya? Yang simulasi atau yang refleksinya ini? Halo, Anda boleh unmute? Atau Anda boleh jawab di dalam menu chat? Oh, yang simulasi. Oke, Andrew, Oh ya, oke. Oke, ini dari Pak Ratno. Sorry, tadi ada ini. Jadi, there is a question, Andrew. Which menu that we have to choose for the simulation? Probably could you please to repeat again from the library? Jadi, there is a question from Mr. Ratno. Which menu that we have to choose if we would like to go to this simulation? Hello, Andrew. Can you hear my voice? Hello. Oh, it seems I lost contact. Hello. Hello. Sorry. Hello, Andrew. It seems I lost my connection. Yeah, there is a question, Andrew, which a menu that we have to choose to get into the simulations. Yeah.
So sorry, the question is?
Okay, which menu that we have to choose to be able to get the simulation?
So if you want to do simulations, you can come to the library and you can select, if I just take off interactive and you check simulations, that will list all over 500 simulations that we have from LabXchange and our collaborators and partners that are available on LabXchange. If you're looking for a particular one, you just type in the search at the top while you've got this selected.
Okay, I will explain in bahasa. Jadi kalau tadi ada pertanyaan dari Pak Ratno, ya, mohon maaf ini mungkin bisa saya jelaskan kembali. Kita ingin masuk ke simulasi, menunya yang pertama kita ambil library. Jadi setelah sign in tentunya ya, sign in dulu. Nanti di sini di sebelah kiri atas ada menu library, kemudian di library-nya nanti klik yang content type-nya. Jadi kan content type itu jenis kontennya apa begitu. Lalu nanti pilih yang simulation. Jadi di simulation ada 537 resource ya, konten yang bisa digunakan begitu. Andrew, I have one question. All the simulations are provided in English still, or it is possible to translate also the simulation part or only other content?
So unfortunately, the simulations are available only in English at this point in time. As I say, we don't have all of our content translated, but we are open to volunteers coming to suggest which pieces of content they would like to translate into a different language. We would love to work with different groups of people around translations.
So it is possible also to translate the simulation content into bahasa, right?
Anything's possible. It's just time and money, unfortunately.
Yes, of course. Ya, okay, thank you. Ya, jadi ini kontennya memang semua masih dalam bahasa Inggris ya, rekan-rekan sekalian. Okay, Andrew, I think we can continue again.
Thank you very much. So now that we've looked at the library, what I'm going to do is we've looked at individual pieces of content, so the simulation and also the simulation and the interactive. Now we're going to look at when we connect those different pieces of content together. We're going to look at what we call a pathway. So here we have what we call a pathway. It's created by LabXchange, and it's about coronavirus that happened in, that's the pandemic that started in 2020. And here's a description about this piece of content. So it's really explaining what coronavirus is and how it transfers, etc., etc. Now, this is made up of 9 different pieces of content. As you can see, they're text, 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 and they're all by LabXchange, but they could be any of the different pieces of content. It could be a simulation, an interactive, a video, a question set, any of the different types. And it could be by any different collaborators. Would you like to translate that, Farida? Sorry.
Yes, yes. Jadi ini adalah salah satu contoh pathways ya rekan-rekan sekalian. Nah, pathways ini kita bisa menyatukan beberapa konten spesifik tadi, misalnya ada video baik jenisnya berbeda dan dari berbagai penyedia. Jadi bukan hanya misalnya hanya LabXchange saja, tapi ada yang misalnya tadi dari YouTube dan lain sebagainya dijadikan ke dalam satu kesatuan begitu. Andrew, we have a question again, Andrew here.
Sure,
Would you like
certainly.
to answer now, or would you like to keep the question later?
No, let's answer it. Thank you.
Okay, so the question is, Andrew, may the user individually create a content for themselves, or whether it is only for the partner which has collaboration with LabXchange, who can create the content and then create the simulation. Yeah. So the question is from Miss Askia.
That's a wonderful question. So individual users cannot create content for the public library, but organizational partners, collaborators can, that create content can collaborate with LabXchange to put their content on the library. Now, when it comes to building a video or a simulation, individual users can't do that, but a content creator who has already built something can put it on the library. However, when we talk about pathways like this, pathways, if you are teaching coronavirus tomorrow in your class, you can use this pathway, and that's the point, to save teachers time. However, if you have an account with LabXchange, you can create your own pathway. So the idea of a pathway is putting together individual pieces of content. Anybody can do that if they have an account with LabXchange. So there are two things with this pathway. I have an account and I'm signed in currently. And because of that, I can click on these three buttons here, these three dots, and I can clone, which is making a copy of this pathway. And that copy will sit in my private library up here. Nobody can access that except me. And that private library allows me to change things on this pathway. I can edit it. I can delete this piece of content. I can change the order. I can bring in content that's not on the LabXchange public library. And I can, bring that in, and it will stay private for me that nobody else can see. Would you like, just let me know if you want to repeat any of that when you're translating.
Yes, Andrew, I will explain. So basically, individually cannot create the content that put in the public library. They have to collaborate with some organizations. Okay, so it is something that guarantee that the content provided by LabXchange has been curated, right, Andrew?
That is correct. The content on the public library has been curated by LabXchange and our subject matter experts at Harvard.
Okay. So I will explain in bahasa. Jadi Mbak Askia, bagus sekali ya pertanyaannya. Kalau secara individu kita memang tidak bisa membuat langsung konten yang ditaruh di public library-nya LabXchange. Kenapa? Karena LabXchange itu sudah menjanjikan bahwa semua kontennya sudah dikurasi. Dan kuratornya adalah LabXchange dan juga expert dari Harvard University. Nah itu kemudian kalau pathway, ya pathway tadi ada dua, selama kita sudah sign in, sudah masuk ya, kita bisa pakai pathway yang sudah ada. Tujuannya apa penggunaan pathway yang sudah ada ini? Tujuannya supaya mempermudah guru. Jadi kan guru itu mempersingkat waktu untuk membuat lesson plan ya, karena ini sudah jadi dan dibikin oleh expert begitu. Jadi ini sudah jelas sangat dikurasi. Jadi kontennya sudah terjamin kalau ini tuh nggak ada miskonsepsi dan lain sebagainya. Tapi secara individual, guru atau pengguna itu bisa membuat pathway sendiri. Caranya gimana? Caranya kita bisa copy pathway yang ada ini, ya. Kemudian kita buat, kita copy, kemudian kita edit. Nah, nanti akan masuk di dashboard kita. Selama belum kita launching ke kelas, maka itu akan punya kita sendiri, begitu. Itu kira-kira, ya. So Andrew, we still have another question. It seems they do not patient enough to wait, yeah. Especially how to use it. So the question is, can we export this simulation or the content from LabXchange into the Google Classroom, or how? So it's they are impatient to wait how to use it in their classroom, because many of them are teachers here, Andrew. And then
no, that's a That's a wonderful question. And so you'll see at the top here, there's this share button. If I click on that, that allows you to share it to your Google Classroom, or just copy the link and share that. If I was just to, copy this link and share it with you via email, this is what you would be able to open up. But essentially, you're able to share it on any of these social media platforms, or copy it or push it into your Google Classroom.
Oke, jadi ini pertanyaannya Mas David ya. Mas David ternyata langsung dijawab dan bisa langsung di-share di Google Classroom dan bisa ditugaskan langsung ya. Okay, so would you like to continue your presentation first before answering some questions? They are one by one. Yeah, I mean more questions are appear on the chat box. Which one do you prefer, Andrew?
We're welcome to answer the questions. That's fine. I'd rather people get what they need rather than me tell them something they don't need.
Okay. So we go to the next question from Miss Nusratul Bariyah. Okay. She asked, I want to ask for a question. Is there any simulation video for math in LabXchange? Okay. Yeah, because all the presentation in the simulation you show in biology and others. So do you have in math?
So in mathematics, we do have content. Unfortunately, it's not as much content as other areas. So as you can see, we have 210 pieces of content for mathematics at this point in time. And when I look at the different content types, so we've highlighted mathematics under the subject area, we've selected mathematics. And then if I look at what content type that is, it's video, text, there's a pathway, there's some simulations, interactives, narratives, podcast, teaching guide, and question set. So there are simulations for mathematics. So this is by FET Simulations, another collaborator. So building a fraction, area model for algebra, multiplication ratios, etc., etc.
Okay, so yeah, don't worry for the mathematic educators ya. Jadi ternyata di matematik juga ada, tinggal cari saja di content type-nya. And because I have a lot of colleagues, especially because my background in mathematics education, so they are also wondering and then very enthusiastic to join this event. Okay, thank you so much, Andrew.
It's a pleasure, and I'm glad that they're here. And remember, if you know of any wonderful content sites or content websites or content creators, please feel free to let us know, because we can then go and reach out to them and have a conversation around bringing their content onto LabXchange. So we're always welcoming suggestions from our user community around the content they would like to see. So for example, if you knew Khan Academy was something that you wanted to see on the platform, you should just send me an email and say, have you looked at Khan Academy? And that's something we can explore.
Oh, that's really great, Andrew. Yeah. Because actually in mathematics, we also have a free resource of a content with the GeoGebra. Probably have you ever heard about GeoGebra, but unfortunately not all the content are curated yet. So because individually the user can create it by themselves. And I think if it can be joined, I think it will be great, Andrew. Okay.
So I think we do have GeoGebra, but mainly just their calculators on our website. So we have just their calculators on our as a collaborator on our platform.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you so much. Jadi ternyata banyak sekali ya di matematik juga ada. Oke. Jangan khawatir di sini ya guru-guru matematik. We have one more question, Andrew. Yeah?
Sure.
The question is from Ms. Tri Puspawardhani. She asked whether LabXchange also provides simulation, especially for elementary mathematics children. Because as mentioned, it is for senior high school, higher than senior.
Yes. So I apologize. I should have said in the beginning, LabXchange obviously supports educators and students, And those students are generally, the content we have supports students who are aged 13 years up to undergraduate level at university. And so that's generally middle school or high school, all the way through to university level. So for children younger than, I'd say, 13, maybe 12, depending on your curriculum, we don't have that much or any content really. But you know, should that change in future and we expand our age range, we can obviously get content for younger people as well.
Oke, jadi ternyata sampai sekarang belum ada ya, belum tersedia ini jadi baru dari umur 12 tahun ke atas, tetapi tidak menutup kemungkinan ya ke depan ya mungkin saja bisa diperluas sampai pada jenjang sekolah dasar. Oke, Andrew. So I think the questions are now finished. Now you can continue to explain, especially the use of the classroom, right? You haven't explained.
Yes. No, thank you, Farida. And the questions are all welcome, so thank you very much. So we've talked about the individual types of content, and we've talked about a pathway. Now, if we group pathways together, we get this idea that we have called a cluster. So this is a cluster just introducing concepts and techniques in biotechnology. And essentially, it is made up of different hexagons. And each of these hexagons represents a pathway, just like the one we've just seen. So we've grouped together different pathways around this broader topic to explain this topic. And we have, for example, if we click on this one, an introduction to genetic engineering, what will appear is a pathway on this topic, as you can see, made up of different types of content, so text, video, interactives, simulations from different collaborators. So again, this is just a broader categorization of content for a particular subject that has been brought together to make it easier to find and easier to use, essentially.
Oke, jadi Andrew menjelaskan yang istilahnya adalah cluster. Jadi cluster ini terdiri dari beberapa pathways yang kalau di dalam LabXchange itu disimbolkan masing-masing dengan segi 6 ya. Jadi ada satu pathways dalam satu segi 6, kemudian seluruhnya itu jadi satu cluster. Ketika kita mempelajari misalnya satu topik yang khusus di situ terdiri dari beberapa pathways dan semuanya itu bisa dirangkum ke dalam satu cluster. Okay.
Thank you. So this is also the resource that we have been able to translate across all those languages. So essentially, all of these hexagons represent about 100 pieces of content. And as you can see, on language, I can change it to any of these different content, these different languages. So unfortunately, as you said previously, there's no Bahasa yet, but hopefully in time we can. One other aspect of this cluster is the tour. So for example, it's a lot of content here. And if you only want your students to look at a particular aspect of it, so for example, you only want them to read about an introduction to genetic engineering, you can click on that and that will highlight and give you the order in which to follow these highlighted pathways. So essentially, it's a quick way of saying you don't need to read all or go through all of this content. You can just go through the highlighted pathways. Farida, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Oke, jadi di dalam pathways ya, kalau kita lihat di dalam cluster ini ternyata juga masih ada beberapa subnya lagi. Kita mau mulai dari yang mana? Di sana sudah ada, misalnya kita klik dari Introduction to Genetic Engineering, maka akan muncul pathway yang harus dipelajari yang mana saja di bawah begitu. Jadi kita bisa langsung klik di sana. Oke, terus.
Thank you very much, Farida. So as I say, it's just a tour is just a way of making it easier to navigate through all of this content. So now we've looked at the library, the individual content types, the pathway, and now the cluster. We're going to look at some of the functionality of the website that we've touched on earlier. Before I do that, I just want to say we do have clusters on introduction to biology, introduction to chemistry, introduction to physics, advanced biology, CRISPR technology, and 2 from NASA about space biology and their mission to Mars.
Ya, ini di sini banyak ya menu-menunya. Jadi tadi di biologi itu sendiri ada beberapa saja, di bioteknologi sampai ke mission ke Mars-nya juga ada, secara detailsnya sudah ada penjelasannya di sini begitu. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you, Farida. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm logged into my account, I have this dashboard button here on the top of my screen. If I click on that, it's going to take me to this place. And this is my private dashboard. So this is the dashboard that I have based on my email address. And it's a place where I can store my own information that nobody else can access. So if you create a LabXchange account and you come to your dashboard for the first time, there will be no content. It'll just have this button saying add new content. And this is where you can add your own content outside of LabXchange if you want. It can come from outside of LabXchange, and you can save it here, and it won't be in the public library. It'll only be here in your private library.
Jadi kalau kita sudah sign in, kemudian kita masuk ke dashboard, maka kita akan memperoleh seperti yang ada di layar tersebut ya, yang ada di layar ini. Nah, ini adalah tidak bisa diakses oleh umum ya, tapi ini private punya kita, punya masing-masing user begitu. Nah, kalau kita menambahkan konten di sini, misalnya kita mau klik saja add new content, maka konten ini masih private, artinya konsumsi pribadi. Ya, belum kita berikan kepada kelas. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thanks, Farida. So if you want to add your own content, you just click add content, and any of these different types of content may be added to your private library. So for example, if you want to add a video, we support YouTube and Vimeo links. You just need to enter the URL from YouTube or Vimeo and click import the video. And that will just draw in the frame in the video. So for example, I have a video here on NASA's Perseverance lander and its mission to Mars. So the content you have here does not need to be science content. It could be anything that you like.
Oke, jadi kalau kita mau menambahkan konten di sini, ya, tinggal add saja, klik, kemudian kita boleh menambahkan konten apa saja dan tidak harus dari LabXchange juga. Tadi misalnya video itu bisa langsung dari linknya YouTube yang kita copy paste begitu di situ. Jadi tidak harus dari LabXchange, jadi dari mana saja bisa. Oke,
Thank you. So you'll also note that under this My Content area, you have the same refining searching that you had on the public library. And this is just an easy way for you to search your own content. Now, you also have an area called favorites. Now, if, for example, you are on the public library and you favorited something, it will automatically draw that piece of content to this place. And so you can have access to this piece of content if it's something you plan to access regularly or often.
Jadi ada juga menu favorit, dan menu favorit ini bisa kita akses langsung dari library, open library ya tadi, kemudian kita klik masuk dia ke favorit, yaitu konten yang sering kita gunakan. Please, Andrew.
Thank you. When you signed up for an account, you also would have been asked based on your age, whether you would like an educator account or a student account. Now, the difference here is that when you come to your dashboard, you have classes I teach for educators or classes I'm in for students. So I'm going to show you classes I teach from an educator perspective.
Jadi kalau kita daftar, tergantung usia kita akan dapat kelas yang kita ajar atau kelas yang kita ikutin. Andrew, but you have two types. Is it because of your age or because you are administrator of this platform?
I think everybody sees it, but you don't need to use it. So I think everybody has the same, but it's based on your account type.
Okay. So I mean the educator type, they also will get the classes I'm in, right?
I think that's correct, yes, because if, for example, I'm an educator and I want to share a class with fellow educators, they can still join a class, but they're educators.
Oke, ya, jadi ini tergantung akunnya, tapi sepertinya semuanya juga dapat ya. Bisa sebagai educator atau guru, bisa juga sebagai siswa di sini. Oke, Andrew, please continue.
Certainly. So with classes I teach, what you have here is the ability to create a space where you can put your own content in the space and share it with fellow educators or students. So how to do that is to really just click create new class. You'll then be asked what you want to call this class. It can be anything you like. You can select the major group or major subject it relates to. You can select how many students you'd like to share it with, up to a maximum of 300 students. And you can write a description for your students about what this class will be about, and upload an image if you'd like, and then enter your name, click agree, and create class.
Ya, jadi prosedur membuat kelasnya juga sangat mudah. Kita buat nama kelasnya, kemudian pelajarannya apa, lalu maksimum bisa sampai 300 siswa di sini. Kemudian kita buat deskripsinya, kemudian boleh upload foto, ya, fotonya boleh diupload. Kemudian jangan lupa ditulis nama Anda sebagai pengajar, dan juga ini bisa menambahkan pengajar yang lain. Ya, Andrew, this can be collaborate with other educators, right? Other teachers, yeah?
Other teachers. So yes, so essentially if you have an account, your name should pre-populate.
Okay. So
and then if there is another teacher working on this, involved in this, I can add another educator as well.
Yeah. Okay. So both have to be signed up in this LabXchange, right? They both have
yes.
an account here.
So in order to have a dashboard, you have to have an account, and the classes I teach is only available under the dashboard. So you will need an account.
Iya, jadi kita bisa kolaborasi dalam mengajar, tapi dua-duanya harus punya account. Okay, Andrew, please continue.
So let me just show you a sample class that I've got. You'll note that each class has what they call a class code, and this is unique to each class, and it's what's required for your students to join a class. So what I've done is I've opened up this class, and what it's showing me is all the content I have made available to my students and a summary of how many learners are in this class.
Okay, can we try here, Andrew? I mean, can you share your class and then we put on the chat box so the participant can try it?
As in to join the class?
Yes. All the students
yeah,
have to be signed up to the LabXchange, or the students
yes.
Can,
they need to be signed up, yeah. So every student needs to create their own LabXchange account, and then the educator needs to share this class code with the student, however you choose to share it, whether you write it on the board in class or email it or WhatsApp or whatever you choose to share it. The student would need to join the class, which I'll show you just now, by using this code.
Okay, jadi so if the student do not have any account in LabXchange, so they cannot access the class, right?
Correct.
Ya, jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, kalau kita mau pakai ini, itu artinya adalah siswa-siswa kita itu harus juga punya akun di dalam LabXchange supaya mereka bisa mengakses kelas yang kita buat di dalam LabXchange ini. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you. So as I opened this class, as I said, it's showing me all the content and a summary of the students. Now, when you open your class for the first time, there won't be any content here. You'll need to add your content. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. Yours won't be so far away. And you'll click Add Content. You'll be able to add content from the LabXchange library, from your dashboard, your own private content, or from your favorites. You can search, obviously looking for something in particular, and you can use the same filter that you would have had in the library.
So it means that not only from LabXchange, but we also can add content from other LabXchange, right?
So you can add content from the public library on LabXchange, from your own dashboard. And remember, your dashboard, you can bring content from outside of LabXchange. So if you're a teacher that has a lot of digital content saved after all your years of work, and you can bring it into your private dashboard, you can then use it in your classes as well.
Oke, jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, ketika kita mau membuat konten di dalam kelas di LabXchange ini, kita bisa masuk dari library-nya LabXchange, kita juga bisa ngambil dari konten yang kita miliki, dan konten yang kita buat itu bisa dari di luar LabXchange, begitu. Kemudian dari favorites juga bisa. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you. So now when you add a piece of content, it sits in this block saying unposted content. And that's really just saying your students can't yet see it. And that's just to say, in case you don't want to give them too much content all at once, or if you want to release a piece of content once a day or once a week, whatever rhythm you choose. In order to share it with your students, you just click plus. That then becomes the last piece of content in your class.
Okay.
If you want to change the order of any of your content you're showing your students, you just drag it up and it will change the order that it is presented to your students.
Oke, jadi kalau kita mau add konten, baru di add saja, maka dia belum tampil. Untuk tampil, kita klik tanda tambah tadi, tanda plus tadi di kanan, maka dia akan muncul di konten yang terakhir. Nah, yang terakhir itu sudah ada misalnya tadi di tanggal berapa begitu ya, sananya. Nah, itu sudah muncul di sana, dan kita bisa mengatur kapan kita mau tampilkan, mau dinaikkan atau diturunkan, begitu tinggal di drag saja ke atas ke bawah. Okay, so Andrew, may I have a question?
Please.
Okay, so it means that this classroom is designed for the asynchronous learning session or for the synchronous learning session? Hello? Oh, it seems we lost connection with Andrew. Andrew? Yeah. Sorry, we cannot hear your voice. And oh,
it's all right. Sorry, there we are.
Yeah, sometimes we have this disconnected. Yeah, the question is that, Andrew, does this classroom design for the synchronous or asynchronous, or we can use it for both types of teaching?
That's a great question, and the answer is both types, both synchronous and asynchronous. So if I go back to the top, now that you've created a class and you've got some students in it, you've got some content, you can share that with them and they can obviously work through it in their own time, or you can do this all on your devices within your class together or online, whichever you prefer. Now, sorry.
Yeah. I will explain. Jadi ini bisa dipakai baik sinkronus maupun asinkronus ya rekan-rekan sekalian. Okay, please continue, Andrew.
Thank you. So now we also have this tab for learners, and this gives us a summary view of who is in our class. So we have a request here from a person called Pierre who wants to join my class. So they've used this code and they've requested to join my class. Now it's up to me, the educator, to control who enters my classroom. And so if I do not recognize this person, I can reject their request to join my class. Or if I recognize him as a student, I can accept him and let him join my class. And the reason that's important is, as you can see, you can message each other within the class. So your students can message each other, and that's just something you want to protect your students from engaging with somebody who may not be in your class.
Ya, jadi di sini kalau misalnya kita sudah memberikan kode kelas kita atau linknya, maka siswa langsung bisa masuk dan nanti akan muncul di dashboard kita. Kita bisa meng-approve ya, kalau memang kita kenal maka kita approve oke. Kalau tidak maka kita akan bisa menolak juga begitu. Nah, kemudian di sini ada menu message supaya kita bisa berkomunikasi dan juga antar siswa bisa berkomunikasi satu sama lain. Oke, please continue.
Thank you. So you'll also see that with all these students that are in my class, I can message them, I can assign them content. So for example, if Eliana is a very strong student and has finished all my work, I can assign her some additional content that will help her keep engaged in the class. Or likewise, if Tess is struggling with the work and does not understand it, I can assign her more content to explain what's going on in the principles we're teaching. I can also check on their individual progress throughout the content I've given them. But you'll notice at the top, we also have a progress bar, which I'll talk about next. I don't know if you just want to translate that first, Farida.
Okay, yes, Andrew. Jadi di menu ini, ya, ketika kita melihat siswa-siswa kita di dashboardnya, ini ada menu assign. Assign itu untuk memberikan tugas. Nah, tugasnya per individu boleh berbeda. Jadi ini kalau kita bicara differentiated learning, ya matching gitu, cocok. Bahwa siswa yang mungkin cepat kita bisa tambahkan assign-nya, tapi yang lambat itu juga nanti bisa kita berikan tambahan, tapi bukan tugas, tapi melainkan penjelasan, sehingga dia paham begitu. Nah, kemudian ada menu progress juga di sini, tetapi Andrew akan menjelaskan menu progress setelah yang berikut ini, karena sudah ada juga menunya di atas. Okay, please, Andrew.
Thank you. So if I click on the progress at the top, that's going to open up a screen that's going to give me a summary view of the whole class. On the bottom of the screen, we see a table. On the far left is all the students' names under this column heading. Each piece of content that I've given to my students is given its own column heading, and I'm able to see whether my students have started a piece of content, whether they've part completed it, or whether they have completed that piece of content and the date on which they completed that content. At the far right of this table, we're able to see the overall progress. Now, this just means what percentage of all the content have my students finished or worked through. Likewise, if any of the content was a set of questions that they had to answer, their overall correct score would be listed here, i.e. what percentage they got correct. And then we summarize that in the top with a class average score and a class average completion.
Jadi ini di dalam progress ternyata menunya cukup lengkap ya. Ada informasi tentang tugas atau assignment mana saja yang sudah selesai dikerjakan di kelas tersebut dan mana yang belum. Nah, kemudian ada persentase terkait progresnya. Jadi kalau di sini 43% itu artinya sudah menyelesaikan 43% dari assignment yang kita sudah berikan. Misalnya ada berapa assignment di sini dan persentasenya per assignment-nya berapa, secara keseluruhannya itu ada di menu overall progress. Kalau kita memberikan quiz misalnya ataupun soal-soal atau pertanyaan, maka di menu sebelah kanan itu akan muncul berapa yang benar dan berapa yang salah dari yang sudah kita berikan begitu pada assignment yang ada tadi. Andrew, I have a question here. So the overall score come from the question, the type of the question it's supposed to be multiple choice, or can we also assign an essay or short answer or any other type of question, Andrew?
So the questions that we have are multiple choice at this point in time. They would be the questions on the public library, or if there are questions that you've inserted into your class, then I'm not actually sure how, if you insert a long question, an essay question from your own content, I'm not sure how that would actually show up as percentage correct here, because an essay question would need to be marked by reading the essay and couldn't be automatically marked. So I believe that you would be able to put that question in your content in your library under the dashboard, but we wouldn't be able to mark that automatically. We can only mark automatically the multiple choice at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. And then can we also import the question from different platform? I mean, not only from LabXchange, but for example, for Google Form or any other type, because we can create our own content, or it's only from the LabXchange?
So you can import any content into your content on your dashboard, but in terms of marking that, I'm not sure. I think it has to be LabXchange content only. But please remind me at the end, and I will find out the answer more clearly for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, now you can continue your presentations, your explanation.
Thank you. So this table is obviously similar to a learning management system, but now we aren't a fully fledged learning management system, but we recognize that it's important for some educators. So you're able to download this table as a CSV file in Excel, which you're then able to upload into your own learning management system to track your students' performance.
Jadi nanti hasilnya juga bisa di-download dalam Excel, begitu ya Bapak Ibu. Jadi bisa menjadi laporan nanti. Okay, please Andrew, you can continue.
Thank you.
Because the time almost up, Andrew. So
yes, I know. Sorry. So finally, we also have a discussion forum in the class, and this is where you're able to, as a teacher or a student, respond to questions, pose questions, put up some rules, etc., and let your students work through them and answer their questions.
Oke, jadi menu yang terakhir yang ada di dalam kelas ini adalah menu diskusi ya. Jadi menu diskusi kita bisa melakukan percakapan, diskusi juga secara tertulis ya. Kemudian ada komentar juga. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. This discussion only in written, right? Cannot using the voice. Only.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
My question is that the discussion only can be done by writing. I mean, by the text, not using voice recording, right?
Yes, just text at the moment.
Okay. Jadi okay, please.
So that's the class. Obviously, then there's classes I'm in, which is the point of view of students. This is where they need to join a class, and that's where they need that code that is unique to each class.
Oke, nah sekarang kalau kita ada di menu siswa, maka ketika kita mau join suatu kelas, kita langsung bisa klik join class, lalu kodenya dimasukkan di sana. Oke.
And then finally in the dashboard, you have a messaging function where you're able to message other LabXchange account holders. And if you're an educator, you automatically are open to receiving and sending messages. You can change that in your account settings if you so choose. If you are a student, you are not able to message people as you're under 18, essentially.
Oh, okay. Ya, jadi kalau misalnya kita ngajar, kita punya menu ini ya, kita bisa kirim pesan ke pengguna LabXchange yang lainnya, begitu bisa kirim pesan. Tapi kalau kita student ya, di bawah 19 tahun, maka kita tidak punya menu yang ini. Okay, please you can continue, Andrew.
And finally, we're going to look at this community button on the far right. So that is essentially our discussion forum where we have seeded a bunch of discussions around these different topics like scientific communication, teaching science, learning science, etc. And so anybody, it's a public discussion forum open to educators, students, and scientists or researchers. And we're really trying to bring everyone together to help answer questions and engage and build that community spirit.
Oke, dan ini menu yang selanjutnya itu adalah komunitas ya, atau community. Di sini kita bisa join dengan beragam komunitas, dan kita juga bisa ikut bergabung di sana, baik itu peneliti, kemudian pengajar, juga siswa, itu semuanya bisa masuk dalam komunitas ini. Andrew, and how if you would like to create some topic, can we do it in this menu?
You can't create a topic. You can only engage in discussion around a topic that's been created by our administrators.
Oh, I see. Oke, jadi kita nggak bisa bikin topik baru ya, rekan-rekan sekalian. Topiknya sudah disediakan oleh LabXchange. Kita hanya bisa join saja. Oke, please continue.
Thank you. And finally, when we come back to the library, if we click on the people side, we are going to show you how students can find a mentor. So LabXchange offers the platform for students to find scientists to help mentor them or offer mentorship around career decisions. So if I refine by mentors, what it's going to show me is everyone with a LabXchange account who has opened themselves up to being a mentor. Only students can search for mentors, and it is a means for students to get information around where should I study, you're the best scientist in this particular area, what path should I do, where should I study, what subjects should I take. It's not a means for students to get help with their homework or private tutoring.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. This is very interesting ya. Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian di sini tuh ada menu yang menarik banget, namanya itu mentor. Kalau kita masuk ke library tadi sudah tahu. Nah, kalau kita masuk ke people, nanti di sini ada role, ada peranan kita sebagai yang pertama learner, kedua educator, yang ketiga sebagai mentor. Kalau diklik nanti ada mentornya. Nah, kalau kita sebagai students ya, maka kita bisa menemukan mentor. Nah, mentor ini peranannya itu kalau Andrew sampaikan tadi untuk menjelaskan, misalnya kita kalau mau kuliah di bidang ini kira-kira ambilnya apa gitu ya, tapi bukan kasih tutor gitu, atau bukan kasih misalnya kalau ada PR gitu kita bisa minta bantuan gitu, enggak ya rekan-rekan sekalian. Okay, Andrew, please continue.
Thank you very much. So now that completes our tour of the platform. I'm going to go back to the presentation, and we're just going to finish off the next few steps in the webinar. If there are any other questions while I finish it, please post them in the chat or stop us. I'd love to answer any more questions there might be. So let's carry on.
Okay, please. Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, tadi itu sudah tour yang full yang dilakukan oleh Andrew ya, meskipun beliau sedang kurang sehat, tapi luar biasa kita hari ini sudah diberikan informasi yang sangat detail tentang bagaimana pemanfaatan menu-menu yang ada di LabXchange. Kalau ada pertanyaan, silahkan jangan sungkan untuk bisa menyampaikan di menu chat box atau langsung raise hand, dan nanti akan saya berikan kesempatan untuk bertanya langsung kepada Andrew. Okay, please Andrew, you can continue.
Thanks, Farida. So there's also a few resources I wanted to share with you. So obviously today this presentation has been recorded, so you're able to watch it at any time. But there's also a remote learning cluster which covers a lot of the topics we've spoken about today. So I'd like to just share this link with you. I'll put it in the chat box, and you're able to access it at any time to help go over some of the topics we spoke about today. So as you can see, how to get started on LabXchange, how to create your own class, how to add content to your LabXchange library, etc., etc. So there's that resource available to you. And there's also an educator resources page, which really provides a summary of some of the different content types we looked at today. So again, very briefly, you can see the different content types. You can go and see examples. It'll just open the public library for you on those particular content pieces. And I'll also put this in the chat box as well.
Okay, jadi Andrew akan men-share link untuk mendapatkan resource sumber-sumber yang sangat banyak gitu bagi pengajar ya, sangat berharga. Jadi ada juga beberapa sumber belajar yang bisa langsung digunakan oleh pengajar khususnya, jadi nanti bisa lebih hemat waktu Ibu Bapak dan rekan-rekan sekalian. Okay, please Andrew, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Farida. So in the next slide, it's just very open in terms of what are the next steps available to you. Well, if you haven't already created an account, please go ahead and create a LabXchange account. Play around with it. So create a class, try to enroll some colleagues or some students, and share content from the library. or your own content. And really feel free to share LabXchange with your own network. If you have any questions or you need any support about LabXchange and how to bring it to your school or to utilize it, we're very keen to help you with that. So just please reach out to me through Farida.
Okay, thank you Andrew. Jadi rekan-rekan sekalian, langkah selanjutnya begitu ya, langkah selanjutnya kira-kira segera buat akunnya dan mencoba, kemudian dimanfaatkan ya, dimanfaatkan apa yang sudah ada, nanti bisa create kelas begitu, kemudian juga share kontennya, dan kalau misalnya ada yang ingin langsung kontak Andrew, bisa menghubungi kami ya, jadi bisa melalui saya nanti dan Global Edu Collab untuk bisa menghubungkan rekan-rekan sekalian dengan Andrew. Misalnya ada juga yang tertarik tadi, misalnya mau ayo bareng-bareng kita translate ya, atau merekomendasikan saya sudah punya ini nih, kira-kira ini bahan-bahan yang cocok sesuai dengan kurikulum yang ada di kita, mungkin nanti kita bisa kerjasama. Andrew, I just say to all the audience that if they also have some ideas, for example, they are interested to translate some of the content, or they use the content very useful, they find that the content very useful and it is in line with the curriculums in Indonesia, then we can start to collaborate doing a project, for example, to translate into a bahasa together. So, and then we can collaborate with LabXchange. Okay.
That would be wonderful. Absolutely, Farida, that would be much appreciated.
Okay. So, do you want to continue and then?
Certainly. So as Farida was saying, we welcome collaboration. So please feel free to explore the platform, sign up for an account. We do have mailing lists which send out the latest updates about LabXchange. We're on all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. Feel free to follow us and see some of the latest announcements we have. And if you need, any customized support or you want to know more about LabXchange, please feel free to email us. And we're always looking for volunteers, as we've said, to help translate our content into more local languages. So yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for this opportunity today, and thank you very much to everyone for your patience. And I really appreciated being able to share LabXchange with you today.
Okay, thank you so much Andrew. Ya rekan-rekan sekalian, jadi Andrew sangat terbuka sekali untuk bisa berkolaborasi dengan berbagai pihak begitu. Jadi silahkan bisa mengeksplor lebih lanjut ya, dan bisa langsung kontak juga ke LabXchange jika rekan-rekan sekalian misalnya tertarik untuk kolaborasi ya. Rekan-rekan sekalian, jika masih ada pertanyaan silahkan boleh disampaikan ya. Melalui chat box begitu. Jadi kira-kira ini akhir dari webinar kita hari ini. So Andrew, thank you very much. We are very appreciate that you can share how using LabXchange, especially for learning science to Indonesia. Yeah. Thank you. We are really appreciate your efforts and then your sharing, especially because your condition. We hope that you will be recovered very soon. Okay. And then once again, thank you so much from Global Edu Collabs and also from me. And please accept our apology if there is some inconvenience during the webinar session.
Not at all. Thank you very much to Global Edu Collab for this opportunity. And Farida, thank you very much for your patience in translating it today. I hope it's been useful. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from all of you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jadi rekan-rekan, itulah akhir dari webinar kita pada hari ini. Ya, besar harapan kami bahwa webinar ini akan banyak memberikan manfaat bagi rekan-rekan sekalian. Kami mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya atas partisipasi dari teman-teman semua di sini. Ya, banyak sekali yang antusias begitu hingga di akhir. Jadi terima kasih sekali lagi kami ucapkan, dan webinar ini kami tutup ya. Jadi dengan ucapan alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Kemudian silakan bagi Bapak Ibu yang belum presentasi bisa diklik link belum presensi maksud saya bisa diklik langsung. So Andrew, now we come to the end of the session. So and we hope we can continue the collaboration in the near futures together between the Global Edu Club and also the LabXchange. And we hope that through introducing the LabXchange into Indonesian community, we can spread out the benefit of the LabXchange into Indonesia. And hopefully later we can make it better by translating some of the content into Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, once again, thank you very much. And then buat teman-teman semua juga terima kasih banyak atas atensinya. Mudah-mudahan ini semua bermanfaat bagi kita semua dan bisa menjadi salah satu sarana untuk memajukan pendidikan sains khususnya di Indonesia. Jadi supaya kita tidak ketinggalan begitu, karena sains ini menjadi salah satu fondasi ya untuk kemajuan pendidikan suatu bangsa. Oke, terima kasih sekali lagi atas partisipasinya. Sekian. Selamat sore. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Okay, have a great weekend and also bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Agus. Have a great weekend.
Apakah ada peserta yang kesulitan presensi, Bapak Ibu?